At Donald Trump's rally in New York City last month, Elon Musk, the CEO of Tesla and the social media platform X, he could reduce U.S. government spending by at least $2 trillion. The incoming U.S. president has now given Musk a chance to try to implement his plans by appointing him to co-head a new Department of Government Efficiency. According to the U.S. Treasury, the U.S. federal government spent $6.75 trillion in the most recent fiscal year, which ran from October 2023 to September 2024. This indicates that Musk's $2 trillion in proposed cuts would amount to about 30% of all federal government spending, or national spending in other nations. Welcome to U.S. Politic. Please subscribe to get updates on political news in America. How feasible is that proposal? To assess this, it's useful to analyze the overall spending figure. Approximately $880 billion, 13% of total U.S. government expenditure is allocated to interest payments on the national debt, which indicates that this expenditure cannot be decreased without risking a default by the U.S. government. About $1.46 trillion, 22%, is dedicated to Social Security, which mainly involves pensions for Americans past retirement age. This category of spending is labeled as mandatory, signifying that it must by law be dispersed to those who qualify. Additional significant mandatory expenses for the government include Medicare, a public health insurance program that primarily caters to Americans aged 65 and older. Discretionary spending by the U.S. government, which requires annual voting by lawmakers instead of being codified in law, includes defense $874 billion, 13%. Transportation $137 billion, 2%, and education, training, employment, and social services $305 billion, 5%. Overall, discretionary expenditures accounted for roughly 25% of the total budget in the 2023 fiscal year, as reported by the Congressional Budget Office, with over half allocated to defense. In principle, the new Trump administration might find it easier to reduce discretionary spending compared to mandatory spending. Donald Trump has stated that Musk, along with his co-leader at the newly established Department of Government Efficiency, Vivek Ramaswamy, will realize cost reductions by dismantling government red tape, eliminating unnecessary regulations, and reorganizing federal agencies. If Musk's goal of achieving $2 trillion in savings from U.S. government spending were solely based on discretionary spending, analysts estimate that entire departments ranging from transportation to agriculture to homeland security would need to be completely shut down. In 2023, discretionary spending represented only $1.7 trillion. Musk did not clarify whether he intends to achieve $2 trillion in savings within a single year or over a more extended timeframe. But many experts in U.S. public finance, even those supportive of government spending reductions in principle, doubt that such a large amount of savings can be realized in the near future without either jeopardizing essential government services or provoking significant public opposition. Following their takeover of the House of Representatives in 2022, Republican lawmakers have faced challenges in enacting legislation to implement much smaller cuts of $130 billion in discretionary government spending due to resistance from fellow Republicans. It is also worth mentioning that Donald Trump ran on a platform aimed at making Social Security more beneficial financially, rather than reducing it by eliminating the income tax associated with it. Regarding defense, Trump proposed constructing an Iron Dome missile defense shield for America, suggesting increased expenditure in this area instead of cuts. According to the U.S. Treasury, total federal government spending as a percentage of the U.S. economy in 2024 was approximately 23%. This figure is significantly lower than the national government spending in other developed nations. However, a considerable amount of government expenditure in the U.S., including nearly all education funding, occurs at the state level rather than the federal level, with states relying on local sales and property taxes for funding. The International Monetary Fund has forecasted that the total expenditure of the U.S. general government, encompassing spending by individual states, will be approximately 37.5% of its GDP in 2024. In comparison, the figures stand at 43% in the UK, 48% in Germany, and 57% in France. Presently, the U.S. government is facing an annual deficit, a gap between its expenditures and tax revenues estimated at around 6% of the economy. Additionally, the national debt owned by the public in America is currently about 97% of the economy size. The Nonpartisan Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget think tank has forecasted that this is expected to increase to 125% by the year 2035. The CRFB has indicated that without significant cuts to spending, Donald Trump's proposed tax reductions would significantly enlarge the U.S. deficit over the next 10 years and elevate the U.S. national debt to 143% by the middle of the next decade. Thanks for watching this video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit the notification button for fresh updates. Share your thoughts with us in the comment.